his amazing $400,000 trip. Chapter 1. The Beginning of Us. Before the betrayal, before the spyware and bank accounts, there was love, or at least what I thought was love. Dylan Graham was magnetic from the start. I met him at a tech conference in Chicago, one of those sleek, overpriced industry events where developers pitch ideas to men in tailored suits. I was presenting a prototype for a biometric cybersecurity system. He was one of the investor's consultants, dressed sharply in charcoal with a charming lopsided smile. "I didn't understand half your pitch," he said afterward with a wink, "but I know brilliance when I see it." I was flattered. I laughed. He bought me a drink that night, and then another. And somehow, between code talk and cocktails, I fell hard. Dylan was everything I wasn't used to, confident without being arrogant, or so I thought, attentive, ambitious, funny. He asked about my childhood, my dreams, the books I loved. He called me the smartest woman in the room. And when you grow up being the quiet girl with thick glasses and a head full of algorithms, being seen like that, it felt intoxicating. We married 2 years later. The wedding was simple, an art gallery downtown, just friends and close family. I remember the way he looked at me as I walked down the aisle. His eyes sparkled. Mine welled up with tears. Everyone said we were perfect. For a while, we were. We bought a townhouse in Atlanta, light-filled, modern, with a little garden out back that I promised to take care of, but never did. He landed a job with a hedge fund. I went full-time consulting, building a name in cybersecurity circles. We cooked together on Sundays, watched documentaries, laughed in bed until midnight over bad reality shows. But then, things started to shift. Subtle at first. Dylan became secretive, less present, more possessive with his phone, more irritated by little things. He stopped complimenting me, started commenting instead about my obsession with work, how I never wore lipstick anymore, how I probably made more money than I knew what to do with. They were jokes. At least, that's how he framed them. I chalked it up to stress. Maybe he felt emasculated. Maybe I was too distracted. I wanted to believe we were just in a phase. But the truth was, Dylan wasn't in a phase. He was preparing something. Something I never saw coming. Chapter 2. Glitches. It started with something small. My phone buzzed at 3:17 a.m. I reached over groggily, expecting a client alert, server downtime maybe, or a midnight maintenance issue. But there was nothing. No new texts, no emails, no missed calls. Just the soft glow of my lock screen. And yet, the screen was on. Active. I frowned, shook the haze from my brain, and checked my battery. It had dropped almost 12% overnight, despite being on airplane mode. The next morning, I mentioned it to Dylan over coffee. "Maybe one of your security apps is running in the background," he said casually, not looking up from his newspaper. "You always have something fancy installed." I nodded. Maybe he was right. But then it happened again. And again. Sometimes while I was in the shower, I'd come back to find my screen lit. Once, the banking app was open on the screen, as if it had just been used. My pulse quickened. This time, I didn't ask Dylan. I just watched him. He was different. His movements slightly sharper. He had always been clean-cut, but now he was obsessively neat, almost anxious. Always holding his phone with the screen turned away from me, locking it instantly if I walked by. One night, I came home late from a client meeting and found him sitting at my desk. He jumped when I walked in. My laptop was open. The screen just turned black. "I was just checking my email," he said quickly. "On my laptop?" I asked. It was right there, and mine was dead. But his phone was in his hand, fully charged, That night, I didn't sleep. I lay awake with my eyes closed, listening to his steady breathing beside me, every part of me alert. A voice in my head whispered something I didn't want to hear. He's watching you. I waited until he left for work the next day. Then I went into full analyst mode. First, I did a surface-level sweep. Nothing. Then I dug deeper: system logs, hidden installs, and backdoor activity. That's when I found it. A custom app. Invisible to the average user. Masked under a fake file name, weather service.apk. But it wasn't a weather app. It was spyware. A custom-built keylogger and mirror program transmitting my phone activity to a secondary device. My banking app credentials. My notes. My messages. And it had been installed using Dylan's developer credentials. I stared at the screen, heart racing. I wanted to vomit. The betrayal hit like a thunderclap. He did this to me. But I didn't confront him. Not yet. I was a cybersecurity expert, and Dylan had made the grave mistake of underestimating me. He used my phone to play a game, but I was about to change the rules. Chapter 3. The Trap. I knew I had to play the long game. If Dylan realized I was onto him too soon, he'd wipe the evidence, cover his tracks, maybe even turn things around on me. No, I needed to make sure that when this blew up, there was no escape hatch for him. So I did what I do best. I built a trap. How I built this trap? First, I created a clone of my banking app. Not the real one. The UI was identical, but under the surface, it was just a hollow shell. Every time Dylan accessed my account through his spyware, he'd see what I wanted him to see: a balance of $417,000, a few fake investments, carefully timed deposits and withdrawals to make it all feel real. Behind that illusion, I quietly removed all my money, every cent. I spread it across 3 new accounts under my maiden name, opened in a different state, secured with biometric 2-step and offline vault tokens. Totally invisible. The real genius? I rerouted the spyware's data feed to track his hidden offshore account instead. Yes, I knew about the secret account. Months ago, Dylan had gotten sloppy during a late-night Skype call. I saw a flicker of a banking login screen in the reflection of our bedroom mirror. That 5-second glimpse was all I needed. I never told him what I saw. I just waited. Now, every time he used my phone to steal money, he was draining his own. Transfer after transfer, bleeding himself dry. The illusion was perfect. And I kept playing the doting wife. I laughed at his jokes, brought him coffee, even asked if we could start thinking about a vacation. "You work too hard, babe," he said one night as we curled up on the couch. "Don't worry. We'll go somewhere amazing soon." My treat. My skin crawled, but I smiled sweetly. That night, as he snored beside me, I opened my laptop and watched the final transfer go through. $400,000 gone. Into hotel suites, yacht rentals, jewelry, women. From his account. Not mine. I bookmarked every expense, every timestamp. Captured screenshots. Watermarked them with metadata, geolocation, and security stamps. By the time he left for his business trip, I had a digital war chest ready. He kissed me goodbye at the airport. "Don't miss me too much," he said with that smug grin. "I've got something big planned when I get back." I didn't say a word. I just watched him walk away, feeling not heartbreak, but the icy, thrilling calm of justice beginning to bloom. Chapter 4. The Lie of Luxury. For 10 days, I watched Dylan live the life he thought he stole. The first photo hit Instagram barely 6 hours after his plane landed. A sun-soaked rooftop in Dubai, golden light spilling across crystal-clear pools and imported marble floors. He was shirtless, holding a drink, aviators perched on his nose. The caption read, "Living the dream, no stress, just success." I stared at the screen and let out a short laugh. Success, huh? The photos kept coming. A private yacht in Mykonos, surrounded by bikini-clad strangers. A shopping spree at the Champs-Élysées, arms full of Louis Vuitton and Cartier. Exotic meals in Santorini. Late nights in Monaco casinos, cigars and crystal glasses clinking in half-blurry photos. He thought he was on top of the world. I watched every move he made, thanks to the same spyware he'd used to violate my privacy. Except unlike him, I didn't need to install anything. He'd never locked me out of his devices. He didn't think I could outsmart him. And that made him careless. Each time he accessed what he thought was my bank, transferring funds, booking things, tipping extravagantly, I traced the transactions. From his offshore account, from his stolen identity. And every screenshot, every charge, every single cent? I saved it all. At night, I would sip tea, curled up with my laptop in the glow of our quiet home, watching the man who tried to betray me drown in his own arrogance. My phone would buzz with updates. $12,000 wire to Van Cleef and our pals. $1,300 dinner. $4,800 for VIP spa retreat. Each notification felt like a nail in the coffin of our marriage. But still, there was a part of me that hurt. I remembered the early days, late-night takeout while we coded side by side, dancing barefoot in our kitchen, him holding me like I was precious. Were any of those moments real? Had he always seen me as a mark? I'd cry sometimes, quietly, just for a few minutes. Then I'd dry my eyes and go back to work. Because this wasn't about pain anymore. This was about power. My power. Reclaimed. On the 8th day, Dylan posted a video, his face flushed, laughing drunkenly with a group of men I didn't recognize. "Your phone made this $400,000 trip amazing," he shouted into the camera, raising a toast. I hit pause. There it was. The quote. I screenshotted it, labeled it, and smiled. The final piece. The trip would be over soon, and when he returned, he'd be walking into a different house. A house where his games were done. A house where I held the cards. Chapter 5. Welcome home. He walked through the front door like a king returning from conquest. Tan. Smug. Reeking of cologne, champagne, and ego. "Baby," Dylan called as he wheeled in 2 expensive-looking suitcases. "I'm home." I stepped into the foyer slowly, setting down my tea with the calm precision of a woman who already knew the ending. He swept me into a hug, planting a kiss on my cheek. I didn't flinch, but my body didn't lean in either. "You won't believe this trip," he said, kicking off his designer loafers. "Santorini was unreal. And the yacht, God, I wish you could have seen it. Honestly, your phone made that $400,000 disappear like magic." He grinned, smug and stupid, as he pulled out a velvet pouch and dropped it in my hands. "A gift for you. Guilt offering," he added with a wink. Inside was a gold chain and a diamond pendant, big, flashy, cold. It sparkled beautifully under the entryway light, just like the glittering web of lies he'd spun. I looked up at him. "How generous," I said softly. "Must have cost a fortune." He laughed. "What can I say? I've got deep pockets." That's when I tilted my head, eyes narrowing ever so slightly. "No, Dylan. You had deep pockets." His smile faltered. I stepped around him, walked to the kitchen island, and tapped a button on my tablet. A screen lit up, dozens of images, videos, bank statements, log trails. One by one, they flicked by, screenshots of the spyware, of the phony banking app, of his transfers, his purchases, his quote from the drunken video in Monaco. I watched him go pale. "What is this?" he stammered. "Oh, just a little presentation," I said lightly. "Think of it as your highlight reel." His eyes darted across the screen, a panic rising. "You see, Dylan, while you were draining what you thought was my account, you were actually bleeding your own. Every cent, every indulgent, pathetic dollar you used to impress strangers, gone." He opened his mouth to speak, but I cut him off. I knew about the spyware. From the moment it lit my screen up at 3:17 a.m., I knew. So I let you think you'd won. But the money? The access? The control? That was never yours. I let the silence hang in the air like thunder before the storm. "And here's the best part," I said. "You didn't just lose your money. You lost your name, your credit score, your job, because I sent all this to your firm's compliance division last night." He blinked. "You wouldn't." I did. He stumbled back a step, like the air had been sucked out of his lungs. The confident swagger was gone. In its place, a man unraveling. You're leaving me?" "No," I said, stepping closer. "I already left you. Legally. 2 weeks ago." I pulled out a folder from the counter drawer and tossed it at his feet. "Divorce papers. Finalized. I used your signature. You gave me power of attorney last year, remember? That sweet moment when you said you trusted me with your life." His lips trembled. "You can't." I did. He dropped to his knees, trembling fingers rifling through the folder. The disbelief in his eyes gave way to desperation. "Please. I can fix this." "You can't," I said. "You chose this. You underestimated me. You violated me. You tried to destroy me." I walked to the door, opening it wide. Now he was on the floor. The same man who once towered over me, lectured me, manipulated me, begging. "I'm sorry. Please, just give me one more chance." "No." My voice didn't shake. "Not this time." I turned back one last time. "Your phone made this $400,000 trip amazing, Dylan. But mine? It made this moment unforgettable." And I shut the door behind me. Chapter 6. Aftermath. The house felt different once he was gone. It wasn't the silence, it was the space. For the first time in years, it was mine. I lit a candle, let the scent of cedar and sage fill the room, and took the longest shower of my life. Not to scrub him off me, no. To celebrate the feeling of being clean again. The fallout from Dylan's unraveling came quickly. His firm fired him within 48 hours. The moment the cybersecurity team reviewed my evidence, the spyware, the financial theft, the offshore transactions, they severed ties. His reputation collapsed like a house of cards. And the offshore bank? They froze everything. Turns out, banks don't like being used for identity fraud and unauthorized wire transfers, even if the identity you're stealing is technically your own. His social media turned from boastful to barren. The last photo he posted, him grinning on a yacht, was now flooded with comments. "Dude, what happened? Thought you were ballin'? Where's your ride now? Heard your wife leveled up without you." As for me, I glowed. I took a long, solo trip to Iceland. No one knew where I was. I turned off all notifications, stood beneath waterfalls, and watched the northern lights ripple across a dark velvet sky. I breathed in peace for the first time in what felt like forever. I didn't just survive. I thrived. When I got home, I launched my own cybersecurity firm, Aurora Shield Consulting. Word of mouth spread fast after I posted a story titled, "How I Used My Hacker Husband's Tricks to Beat Him at His Own Game." I never used Dylan's name. I didn't have to. The story spoke for itself. I was flooded with clients and messages from women, from survivors, from quiet voices who'd been silenced by betrayal and gaslit by people they trusted. I gave them my time. I gave them my tools. I gave them hope. Months later, I got a letter. Handwritten. Dylan. Begging. He'd lost everything. His money. His job. His friends. His dignity. He said he didn't know why he did it. That he missed me. That he'd do anything to make it right. I read the letter once. Then I burned it. I walked to my window and stared out over the city's skyline. The same city where he thought he had outsmarted me, where he tried to write the story of my downfall. But I flipped the script. I stood taller now, stronger, smarter, untouchable. Because he stole what he thought was my fortune. But I walked away with something far more valuable. My freedom, my power, myself. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe for more short stories.